On the morning of June 4, 2010, a 7-year-old boy arrived at Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon. His name was Kyron Horman, and within hours, he would become the center of one of America's most unsettling missing child cases. That morning, the school was busy with a science fair, with parents, students, and staff moving through the building. Kyron had come with his stepmother and proudly stood beside his class project. He was photographed inside the school, calm, dressed for class, and exactly where he was supposed to be. Multiple people later said they saw him that morning. After the science fair ended, students were expected to head to their classrooms and begin the day. Kyron never made it there. He was later marked absent, even though he had already been seen inside the building. No one could clearly explain how a child could disappear from school in the middle of a normal morning. And from that day forward, Kyron Horman was never seen again. Kyron Horman was 7 years old at the time of his disappearance. He lived with his father, stepmother, and baby sister in Portland, Oregon. He was described as quiet, observant, and deeply interested in science. At school, he was known for being well-behaved and respectful. Teachers reported that he followed routines closely and kept to himself. He enjoyed reading and learning about animals and nature. The morning of June 4, 2010, began as a normal school day. His stepmother dropped him to Skyline Elementary School. They arrived shortly before classes were scheduled to begin. That morning, the school was hosting a science fair event. Parents were allowed inside to view student projects. Kyron had prepared a display about tree frogs. He was proud of his project and wanted to show it. Photographs taken that morning show him standing beside his display. He appeared calm and comfortable in the school environment. After the science fair, parents began leaving the building. Students were expected to return to their classrooms. Kyron was last seen inside the school during this transition period. No staff member reported anything unusual at that time. The environment remained calm and routine. But within hours, his absence would become impossible to explain. As the school day began, students settled into their classrooms. Teachers started their lessons as scheduled. Attendance was taken shortly after the morning bell. Kyron's name was called, but there was no response. At first, this did not immediately raise concern. Busy mornings often caused minor attendance confusion. Staff assumed he might have been delayed or still with a parent. There was no immediate reason to suspect anything unusual. But no teacher reported seeing him in class. No one confirmed that he had entered a classroom at all. The school office began reviewing attendance records. His absence remained unexplained. Staff attempted to verify his location within the building. Hallways and common areas were checked. There was still no sign of Kyron anywhere inside the school. Meanwhile, outside, the day continued normally. Parents had already left after the science fair. There were no reports of disturbance or unusual activity. No alarms were triggered during the morning. But as time passed, the situation became harder to ignore. A child had been seen inside the school, but was no longer accounted for. By early afternoon, Kyron's absence could no longer be explained as a delay. School staff began contacting his family to confirm his location. His stepmother believed she had left him safely inside the school that morning. She confirmed that he had been present during the science fair. At that point, concern began to escalate. the school initiated internal checks across classrooms and hallways. Teachers and staff searched common areas within the building. There was still no sign of Kyron anywhere inside. No teacher recalled seeing him enter a classroom. No staff member reported seeing him leave the building. The timeline began to narrow around the end of the science fair. That was the last confirmed moment he was seen. Investigators later focused on this specific window of time. It was a brief period when movement inside the school was less structured. Parents were exiting while students were transitioning. This created a gap in supervision. During that gap, Kyron disappeared. There were no reports of disturbance. No witnesses described anything unusual. The school environment remained calm throughout the morning, but within that calm, a child had vanished without explanation. Later that afternoon, Kyron's parents arrived at the school to pick him up. He was not at the designated pickup location. At first, it appeared to be a misunderstanding. Staff assumed he might have left earlier with a family member, but no one could confirm who had taken him. A more urgent search began within the school grounds. Teachers and staff checked classrooms again. Hallways, restrooms, and common areas were searched. There was still no sign of Kyron. The school contacted local authorities. Law enforcement arrived shortly after. An official missing child report was filed. Search teams began organizing around the school area. The surrounding terrain included wooded areas and uneven ground. Officers started canvassing nearby paths and access points. Canine units were brought in to assist with tracking. Parents and volunteers gathered to help search the area. Flyers with Kyron's image were prepared and distributed. The search expanded beyond the immediate school property. Despite the rapid response, no confirmed trace was found. By the end of the day, Kyron Horman was officially missing. In the days that followed, the search operation intensified. Law enforcement expanded efforts beyond the immediate school area. Search teams covered nearby neighborhoods and wooded regions. Volunteers continued assisting in organized search groups. Authorities began conducting formal interviews with school staff and parents. Each account was used to reconstruct Kyron's last known movements. The timeline focused on the period after the science fair ended. Investigators confirmed that he had been seen inside the school building, but no one could confirm seeing him leave. Security measures at the school became a key point of review. Investigators examined entry and exit points around the campus. They assessed how a child could leave unnoticed. Attention also turned to individuals present that morning. Parents, staff, and visitors were all part of the inquiry. Among them was Kyron's stepmother, who had last accompanied him. Her account of the morning was reviewed in detail. Law enforcement worked to verify each part of her timeline. Warrants were later executed as part of the investigation. Public attention on the case continued to grow. Despite extensive efforts, no clear explanation emerged. Kyron Horman remained missing without a confirmed trace. As investigations progressed, attention shifted toward possible explanations. Detectives analyzed the timeline in detail. They examined every confirmed sighting of Kyron that morning. The focus remained on the narrow window after the science fair ended. One possibility considered was that he had left the school on his own. However, no evidence supported that he exited the building alone. There were no confirmed sightings of him outside the school grounds. Another possibility involved someone else removing him from the school. Investigators explored whether an individual could have taken him unnoticed. They reviewed access points and patterns of movement within the building. The presence of multiple adults during the science fair complicated the timeline. Anyone unfamiliar could have moved through the building without immediate suspicion. Attention also remained on individuals closely connected to Kyron. His stepmother's account continued to be examined in detail. Investigators worked to verify her movements after leaving the school. Conflicting details raised further questions during the investigation. Search efforts continued alongside the analytical work. Despite extensive review, no single theory could be confirmed. No physical evidence clearly pointed to what had happened. The case remained open, with multiple possibilities still under consideration. Kyron Horman's disappearance remained unresolved. As time passed, the search for Kyron gradually slowed. Active search operations were scaled back in the weeks that followed. The investigation, however, remained open. Law enforcement continued to review evidence and follow leads. Kyron's family continued to seek answers. Public interest in the case remained strong. His image continued to appear in media coverage and missing persons databases. Tips were received and investigated over time, but none provided a confirmed breakthrough. The timeline of that morning remained the central mystery. He was seen inside the school building, but there was no confirmed moment of exit. No physical evidence explained what had happened. The case raised questions about safety within controlled environments. How a child could disappear from a school without detection remained unclear. Investigators revisited the case multiple times over the years. New information was periodically reviewed, but no conclusive answer was ever established. Kyron Horman's disappearance remains unresolved. His case continues to be one of the most puzzling missing child investigations, and the question of what happened that morning still remains unanswered.